Jan, mamaya. Okay, got it. Also, you can say also it's also known as the Local Government Code of 1991. This was enacted to decentralize government functions and empower local government units. It also provides the legal framework for the creation, organization, and operation of local governments in the Philippines. So, tonight, let's look for, so I selected some provisions of the code to understand, yeah, which sections in the code had provided importance or which highlighted environmental, land use, and development planning in the local government code. And also, we will look into the roles and responsibilities of LGUs, mayor, the governor, and MPDCs and other positions. And then we also clarify the functions and duties of various LGU officials and bodies like the Local Development Council, uh, some practical examples and case studies, and also um, providing real-world examples of how the code has been implemented to achieve sustainable development. Mm, yeah, in the overall local government code, or in, yeah, we're talking about what's the importance of the code in local governance. So, since it provided the legal framework for the LGUs, so this is expected, the code itself um enhances, the autonomy and capacity of LGUs to manage their own affairs and deliver public services. So it means that during this time that this was implemented, there were some departments that have been devolved, and like the agriculturist office, municipal agriculturist, and then the social welfare, uh, health, and others, right? So there were some um departments that have been devolved. The main goal also is to improve local governance by promoting accountability, transparency, and participatory governance at the local level. So, in this particular discussion, so we will just focus on environmental planning, land use planning, development planning, and of course the overall planning and development within the LGU or at the LGU level. So, okay, always remember, baka kasi itanong sa inyo, so when was the local government code enacted? So it was enacted on October 10, 1991, and took effect through the IRR. It took effect on January 1, 1992. So October, November, December, January. So in a matter of just 3 months or less than 3 months, so it took effect. So this is designed to promote local autonomy and empower LGUs to address its own local needs. Um, so we have major components, the code. So I'll be showing you later the structure and organization of LGU. So most of you here are with LGU, so you're familiar, right? So, and then the powers, duties, and functions of LGU officials. Then how local government generates its own revenue and how they manage through through fiscal management, and then how LGUs provide basic services and facilities. Mm, okay. So, I think this was already provided. Let's see. So it's all about empowerment, right? So from in 1991 through to today. So I think, do you think we have achieved the goals, I mean, of LGUs? LGUs have been more independent. They've managed their affairs independently. Have they been, or yeah, have had LGUs have been self-reliant, or and have they not depended on national government? Do you think so? So if I've not seen any um I've not seen any evaluation yet of the local government code implementation since 1991. So it's been a number of decades already. But yeah, that's something like evaluation should be in the forefront, on how to evaluate if these objectives and this vision mission have been achieved. Like, for example, local autonomy and governance. And so the principle of local autonomy when is that LGUs are given substantial powers, as you can see here, isn't it? And then and it promotes self-reliance. As to its structure, um, of course, there are provinces, there are cities, municipalities, and barangays. So this is the hierarchy, right? It's hierarchy in local governments, in local governance. And each has its own set of officials, and they have each unique organizational structure. So that's the main goal is decentralization, so that everyone will be given the opportunity to achieve the type of direction, the type of development that it wants to pursue. And that's why um after the during the implementation of local government code, so the key elements of decentralization was transfer of power, authority, and resources from the national government to LGUs. But of course, the connection or the interdependence between the two, it's still alive, right? So there are still some funds, there are some funding support still coming from national government. So it did not change in that manner. However, it just gave more power. So it just strengthened the powers of the LGUs. And because that's the goal, is to enhance local accountability and responsiveness to community needs. So it has the yeah, it was empowered to consult the public, and then to it gave them, it gave LGUs more strength and the leverage to respond, to the needs and demands of the community. General welfare clause, yeah, it can also be asked during the board exam. So section 16, please remember about this one. General welfare clause speaks about this paragraph that each local government unit shall exercise the powers expressly granted, those necessarily implied therefrom, as well as powers necessary, appropriate, or incidental for its efficient and effective governance, and those which are essential to the promotion, the general welfare, okay, for the public good. So that's the general welfare clause. I don't need to explain further. And yeah, let's read this one. Within their respective, is it the functions? Every local government. So, it's a continuation of section 16. That,
Continuation po niya, ma'am.
okay. Within their respective territorial jurisdictions, local government units shall ensure and support, among other things, the preservation and enrichment of culture. So that's one of the important elements in CLUP, right? Culture. Promote health and safety. So it's one of the social sector element. Enhance the right of the people to a balanced ecology. So that's the environmental sector. Encourage and support the development of appropriate and self-reliant scientific and technological capabilities. Improve public morals, enhance economic prosperity, so that's economic sector, and social justice, promote full employment among their residents, maintain peace and order, so it's still social, and preserve the comfort and convenience of their inhabitants. So um in the local government code, it captured all that those elements captured within the formulation of the CLUP and the CDP. Okay, even other sub-plans like the climate change, and then the DRRMP and all others, okay, that are considered sub-plans. So even this one here, section 17, it covered basic services and facilities. That local government units shall endeavor to be self-reliant and shall continue exercising the powers and discharging the duties and functions currently vested upon them. So they shall also discharge the functions and responsibilities of national agencies and offices devolved to them pursuant to this code. So that's section 17. But I think there's a continuation of 17 that it shall likewise exercise such other powers and discharge such other functions and responsibilities as are necessary, appropriate, or incidental to efficient and effective provision of the basic services and facilities enumerated herein. So yeah, it also wrote in section 17B on the hierarchy, okay? From barangay to the smallest political unit up to province. Just a moment lang. Okay. 16, 17. Also in the local government code, yeah, it also provided for the reclassification of lands. Let's section 20, okay? Please remember this section, that a city or municipality um may, through an ordinance passed by the Sangguniang after conducting public hearings for the purpose, authorize the reclassification of agricultural lands and provide for the manner of their utilization or disposition. Yun naman yan. So, provided that such reclassification shall be limited to the following percentage of the total agricultural land area at the time of the passage of the ordinance. So, yeah, you cannot reclassify totally, but it has its yeah, this is the limitation that for highly urbanized and independent component cities, 15%, 10% for component cities and first to third class municipalities, 10%, and then for fourth to sixth class municipalities, 5%. So 15, 10, 5. Provided further that agricultural lands distributed to agrarian reform beneficiaries pursuant to RA 6657, otherwise known as the CARP law, or the CARL, Comprehensive Agrarian Reform Law, shall not be reclassified under this section unless approved by the DAR. So as to those lands covered by CARL, it is the DAR that yeah, we need to seek approval from DAR. So it means that these are the non-negotiable lands. They cannot be reclassified. Uh Someone asked me, okay, it's someone asked me like few days ago about the reclassification of lands within an economic zone. Since it has its own uh charter, it has its own, for example, in Cagayan Economic Zone, Cagayan Economic Zone, so it's covered by the CESA law, okay? Um, they cannot follow this one because, for example, in Santa Ana, Cagayan, so that's the CESA location. It says in the law that all of Santa Ana, Cagayan is an economic zone plus the inclusion of another barangay in Apari, Cagayan, which is uh the Fuga Island. So the whole of it are are covered by CESA. So it means that they are obliged or they are mandated to prepare their own master plan. So what happens to the LGU of Santa Ana, which came first before before CESA? Is it? So that's the one that it's still one of the hottest, it's still being debated by the province of Cagayan, and not LGU, not the municipal government, but the governor there in Cagayan. He wants it, okay, off the record. So it's being contested, and I think it was suggested by the governor himself that it should be scrapped, or CESA should be already I forget the term that he used there. But you cannot do that. So it's an act of Congress to scrap that law. It's not possible at the moment, and you cannot just, and some environmental planners of the province of Cagayan are actually invoking this section 20. but it does not apply. It does not apply to an economic zone. Okay, because it has its own charter. It has its own policy. So there are two governing bodies there, the LGU plus CESA. So if you are the urban planner, if you're the environmental planner, and you're consulting for that, and how will you advise on that as to reclassification of land? So you need to do some research, and um you cannot just invoke this one without looking first into the charter of CESA. Okay, so and that's why we need to keep reading on how we advise our clients. Okay, and because you will always be remembered for the wrong advice, the wrong technical advice. You will always be remembered about that. And before you want to be forgotten, you need to keep reading, right? So, and then again, like for example, if you have advised that even those lands covered by Carl can be reclassified, and so you might you might want also to be forgotten and as someone who is an environmental planner and providing the wrong advice and providing wrong information, because there's what we call NAPAAD is Network of Protected Agricultural Areas. Okay, and Network of Protected Agricultural Areas and agricultural development zone. So NAPAAD is um cons it consists of those lands covered by Carl, and then another one is all lands that are irrigated. Okay, irrigated, so that these are lands that are non-negotiable. So you need to provide that in the CLUP, that you need to delineate NAPAAD. Okay, and in addition to those two that I mentioned, you also need to delineate the SAFTZ, the Strategic Agricultural and Fisheries Development Zone. So this covers NAPAAD. Okay, so um local government powers and functions for mayor, for efficient, effective, and economical governance, the purpose of which is the general welfare of the municipality and its inhabitants, pursuant to Section 16. So always general welfare, Section 16, okay? Mayor shall initiate and maximize the generation of resources and revenues and apply the same to the implementation of development plans, program objectives, and priorities as provided for under Section 18. So of this code. If you forgot Section 18, so you will be lost in this particular Section 444, right? Because it will not repeat. So what is Section 18? Unmute. This Section 18. Nakalimutan nyo ba? Wala ba akong nasabi? Let me see. Hmm. Di ba yung power, did I not say, maybe I did not mention about power to generate and apply resources?
Yung taxation ba po ito?
Sorry?
Sa taxation ba po ito?
So, okay. LG. local government taxation, okay. So it's about the authority to generate revenue, okay, and share in national taxes, utilization of our resources, okay. So, and then another one is adopt adequate measures to safeguard and conserve land, mineral, marine, forest, and other resources of the municipality. So you see, it was captured all in section 444. Provide efficient and effective property and supply management in the municipality. Protect the funds, ensure delivery of basic services. So, nakalagay section 17, right? Section 17 of the code. Then ensure that the construction and repair of roads and highways. So, many and all are, of course, because it's the local government code. So, the mayor is responsible, is accountable for all. Coordinate the implementation of technical services, including public works and infra programs. Coordinate and implementation of technical services, including public works. I remember one story in Cagayan de Oro. Okay. So, mayor of Cagayan de Oro City, not this year, this probably maybe before pandemic. So, before pandemic, nag-away yung mayor and the district engineer, okay, DPWH, because DPWH proceeded with the public works, without coordinating it with the LGU. So yeah, what went wrong there? What do you think? But it says here in this particular Article 10 that the mayor coordinates the implementation of technical. Who should contact who and who should coordinate with whom? Of course, there should be synergy, right? So, uh, all all national projects to be implemented in a particular city or municipal government should be coordinated with the LGU, isn't it? But LGUs also who are implementing infra, do they need to contact DPWH even if it's a local project? But they can consult, right? They can consult on technical matters. Like for example, I remember when I bidded for subsoil exploration for CHED, you know what? Not CHED, DepEd. Sorry. So they didn't know how to proceed with the terms of reference and all this one. And even during in the bidding process, and they needed to contact DPWH because it was devolved. Yeah, the bidding process was all in the hands of DepEd, but DepEd was not prepared for that particular project, and it's like hundreds of millions, and they needed to still consult with DPWH in terms of geotechnical, subsoil exploration. Now, in that particular case, and a national agency can contact DPWH much more for a local government unit, and they needed to contact DPWH for some technical expertise, isn't it? But procurement is with this national agency or with this local government unit. So, but here in Article 10, it says coordinate the implementation of technical services, including public works and infrastructure programs with whom? It did not say DPWH. Let me see. But of course, it didn't say about. Sorry, it's not moving. Kasi gumagalaw na. Diyan, hindi ba ito gumagalaw? So,